So as most of you guys probably know, especially if you are a West Coast Eagle fan, the Eagles recently just got an assistant package by the AFL, which included some pretty interesting things. Of course, they were granted a couple of picks here and there, amongst a bunch of other minor little details, but one that's kind of been glossed over, I feel like heavily, as of late, was that the Eagles were given 4 extra rookie list spots going into, 2026. And this can mean a lot of different things. Of course, the Eagles can, they can train on a bunch of players. They can go to the rookie draft, hit that, try and bring in some steals, try and do what Richmond did that one year where they brought in like Levan Soldo, Jaden Short. I think it was Kane Lambert in 1 year. Look, that's probably not going to happen. That's a once-in-a-generational moment, but that could be one way they go with it. Another way could be, again, having players to train on to try and earn a rookie spot. But I feel like the more common thing that we may potentially see is the Eagles actually targeting some of these delisted players, because usually clubs don't look too much into delisted free agency or anything like that, because most of the players who do often get delisted are absolutely booty cheeks. But I feel like in 2025, there have been a lot of really, really solid players that have been cut that probably shouldn't have happened. And there's a list here by an Instagram page called Golden Wings West Coast Eagles of some potential players they could, of course, target. Of course, Devin Robertson is the first player on this list. We know that the Eagles are probably going to lock him in. He is for sure going to be one that gets one of those 4 list spots. I think that is a certainty, and I would almost go out and bet my freaking house mortgage on that shit, but I won't, because it's the AFL and anything could freaking happen. I watched Sydney Stack. I nearly said Sydney Sweeney. I do watch Sydney Sweeney, but that's not where I'm going with this one. I watched Sydney Stack 1 year be like the most goated rookie, and then the next year he was just complete arse and looked like he should have been playing 2s for the Frankston Dolphins. So I'm not going to believe everything, but I think Devin Robertson will be one for sure. But there's a couple other players on this list now. Finn McRae, who recently got delisted by the Collingwood Football Club. Obviously an inside midfielder who could be looking for some more opportunity. We got the duo here of Ben Hobbs and Will Phillips. 2 very high picks previously who have recently been delisted by their clubs that the Eagles could look at. They've also got Ted Closey on here, Harry Schellenberg, George Stevens, Jackson Binns, Tom Mitchell, David Swallow, and Tom Berry. This Eagle page says, I expect the club will set aside a couple of those positions for our NGA/father-son boys, should they slide through the ND without a bid. Dev Robertson will receive a spot, leaving 1 to 2 positions open depending on how many NGAs we take. Now I believe that they will look at the 1 or 2, like this Instagram page says. If I had to take a call, it will be 1 or 2. They will use the other spots for their NGA kids, and I believe that is all facts, and that's where West Coast are probably going to look at going in this delisted free agency and the draft and just finishing off the off season. But outside of Devin Robertson, who, as I just said, it should be a certainty, I think there's one guy on here who I would really like. Actually, that's bullshit. There's 2 guys on here I really like for the Eagles and that I think they should 100% go with. And no, it's not the direction of going with Ben Hobbs or Will Phillips. I don't think those boys really have a future in the AFL, and I would quite frankly love to be proven wrong, but I don't think they have a future in the league. But if you had to ask me, there are 2 guys here who I think they should 100% look at. We'll start off with the first one, and that is Tom Mitchell. I genuinely believe Tom Mitchell would be the perfect player to bring into this Eagles team for a lot of the reasons. And you might be sitting at home thinking, why is this freaking fat guy in a champion shirt just said this crap? Why Tom Mitchell's freaking 30 years old, got no legs, injured as hell. Why would the Eagles look at him? And if you were to ask me that, I would say, fair enough. But in saying that, from what we are hearing from all the reports, Tom Mitchell is 100% healthy, and he is as healthy as what he has been since 2023. Because we got to remember, in his last 2 years, he's been extremely injured, and every time he comes back, he's hurt, sore, and just looks really unconditioned. But from what we are hearing, he is as healthy as what he was in 2023, which, might I add, was a season where he put together 25 disposals per game and was a key contributor to their grand final team. Now, will he be as good as that? Probably not. But he's also not even that old. He's in his very, very early 30s. And if he does get to being as healthy as he was then, which I believe he will be, I could very well see Tom Mitchell adding maybe a 22 disposal per game kind of year for the Eagles, which would be massive for pretty much the worst midfield in the game. Not only is it the worst midfield in the game, but the midfielders who are in there, like Harley Reid, get absolutely bashed and destroyed every game because they genuinely don't have that contested inside brute that they should be relying on. Again, I think they thought that Elliot Yeo was going to be that for this year, but he was just injured with 897 different things. And when you look at Harley Reid, Harley Reid can be a contested and clearance player. Don't get me wrong. Of course he can. But I think when Harley Reid plays his best footy is when someone's in there doing the dirty work, like what a Dion Prestia would do for Dusty, and getting them the ball. Like, I think when Dusty was at his best, obviously, for all those years, it was when he had a bloke like Dion Prestia in the inside, getting the contested ball and hand passing it out to him, where Dusty could remain on the outside of the possession and then go and work his magic. I think that's what Harley Reid did best in his first year with the Eagles, when he had like an Elliot Yeo to rely on. But in his second year, he didn't have that, and he had to turn into a lot more of a contested clearance player, and he ran into a lot of problems. He wasn't quick enough in the contest, wasn't smart enough in the contest, I believe, for a lot of the year to really be that player. So I think the Eagles are desperately calling for a guy like that, and just someone for Harley Reid to rely on. Harley Reid gets beaten and bashed bloody every single game. Wouldn't it be nice for him just to rely on a guy in there? And next year, it could legitimately be a Tom Mitchell and an Elliot Yeo both in there doing the hard work and getting the ball out to him. And I think that would be so clever and so smart. It's also like Tom Mitchell is a pretty good leader. He's a Brownlow winner, and he's a proven winner. He's a proven winner who has proven to play great football for many years when he's not hurt. So if he is healthy, he would be the perfect option for them. And you could transform this midfield into a midfield that had absolutely no one last year getting in and getting that rough contested ball, to having Elliot Yeo and Tom Mitchell doing that role, which would be great for them, but it would also improve a Harley Reid, who should be more of that outside player waiting for the pill so he can then go and distribute it. That's what they should be doing with Tom Mitchell. The other one that I really think they should look at here is David Swallow. I think David Swallow is very much past his prime. But I also saw enough good footy from David Swallow at Gold Coast this year, especially when he consistently played the role as the sub, which is, quite frankly, not easy to do. But I saw enough good footy out of David Swallow this year. Without the age of only 30 to 31 years old, I believe, he could come in and play a significant role. Is he going to be the contested guy that Tom Mitchell could probably be for you? No. But David Swallow can do a lot of great different things. He can also move around and play all different type of positions. He played forward this year, he played wing, he played midfield. He's also previously played a little bit of back. He's a great leader, has been a Gold Coast captain for many years, has proven that he can play through adversity and play on a crappy team when things are going hard. He can always lift the spirits and be a bloke that you can rely on. I think this West Coast team is desperately looking for some leadership, especially considering a guy like Oscar Allen has just left and Liam Duggan played a terrible season, which really didn't show much leadership at all. I think it would be great for them here to go for some older blokes who are going to be actually able to help your team in many different ways on field, but also help your team in a lot of different ways off field. And I think it's exactly what this midfield needs. It's exactly what the team needs. David Swallow could be a bloke who plays, sub, could play forward, could play wherever, and he's a guy who's played through adversity. And Tom Mitchell is a contested base who, when healthy, is elite at it, and he'd be a perfect complementary piece for a Harley Reid in there, and a Willem Dersma most likely coming up in the future. So, of course, I'd very much love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. The reality is that West Coast could transform their midfield of whatever it was last year of having every different bloke into it, to having a midfield now maybe of Tom Mitchell, Elliot Yeo, Harley Reid, Willem Dersma, Dev Robertson, Liam Baker rotating in there every now and then. Probably another guy or two I've forgotten. You could go from by having the worst midfield in the game by far to actually a midfield which may look semi-respectable on paper. So of course, I'd love to hear all your thoughts and opinions down below. Subscribe to the channel for the latest sports content news. Go check out my gaming/movie channel, also linked down below. Give me a follow on Instagram if you haven't already, which will be linked down below. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.